Hola, en este video vamos a hablar sobre el verbo tener con las expresiones idiomáticas y el verbo hacer con las expresiones idiomáticas, primariamente el tiempo. Primero, vamos a hablar sobre tener con las expresiones idiomáticas. Now, this is mostly a review of what you guys have learned from Spanish 101, 102, and 201. El verbo tener. We use this in idiomatic expressions where in English we will primarily use to be. For example, tener calor, to be hot, tengo calor. What you're literally saying is I have heat, okay? Tener hambre, okay? To be hungry. Tengo hambre, I am hungry. And there are various other expressions that you're going to see in this lesson that you've had before, and probably a few that maybe you haven't had before. Now, does that mean that we never use the verb estar with certain expressions? Well, no, as you're going to see in your lesson, some expressions like to be hungry, to be thirsty, etc., they do have equivalents with the verb estar and are used occasionally. For example, estar hambriento or hambrienta, to be hungry. It is possible to say, estoy hambriento. I am hungry. That does exist, okay? So when we taught you these originally, we were trying to get you to focus on tener expressions only. However, because Spanish has so much variety, there are so many different dialects, so many different expressions, we don't want to overwhelm students in the beginning. But now that you're in Spanish 202, you're a little bit more advanced, we can expose you to some new topics, some variations to the language that you haven't learned before. Okay, now the next thing is the verb hacer with weather. We use the verb hacer with many, many weather expressions. Okay, so let's take a look at some of those. For example, hace frío, it is cold. Hace calor, it is hot. Okay, but we don't always use hacer with all weather expressions. We could say está nublado, it is cloudy. Hay niebla, there's fog. Okay, so it all varies. Most of your expressions will have hace. Now, let's go back to hace frío and hace calor. Do we always use hace with those expressions? Well, once again, we're trying to expose you guys to a variety of things that are used throughout the Spanish-speaking world. Okay, the standard that you learn, hace frío, hace calor, hace viento, hace buen tiempo, hace mal tiempo, etc., which you're going to see in the lesson reviewed again. When you go throughout the Spanish-speaking world, when you're watching television in Spanish, when you're watching the weather forecast, you're going to notice that they don't necessarily use hace with their expressions. For example, hace frío, you might hear es frío, it's cold. Es caliente, it's hot. You'll hear that. Or you have heard hace sol, right? You might hear está soleado, oops. It's sunny. Or hay sol, there is sun. So as you travel throughout the Spanish-speaking world, understand that the standard expressions that we've taught you with the verb hacer for weather are going to change. They will say different things at different times. So pay attention to that as you're speaking with native speakers and notice the differences between some of what you learn in the classroom and then what you learn when you're on the streets speaking with people in whichever country you decide to visit. Also understand that saying that certain things are hot, like if you want to say the plate is hot, we do tend to use the verb estar to express temperature. El plato está caliente, la sopa está fría. Okay, the soup is cold, meaning it tastes cold. We also use the verb ser to indicate characteristics of certain things, okay? For example, el gazpacho, which is a type of soup in Spain made with tomatoes and cucumber, and many other things. It is a cold soup. It is not served hot. So we say el gazpacho es frío. It is a cold soup, meaning that it's always cold, not the condition of it now. Like if I were to taste it, I would say está frío. It's cold. But the soup itself, as its general characteristic, es frío. Okay, so expressing temperature of certain things, you'll use ser and estar. Estar for the condition of it, and ser for what it always is. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, vamos a practicar entonces.